And welcome to another edition of Working for Charities. I'm Trip Mitchell, joined as always by the team. John Absey, formerly The Bear.
Hey.
Or in my book, The Bear, John Absey. Randall Carlisle.
The Bear, John, he's wearing clothes today. What is this?
Today. Every now and then I do like to try and dress up. It ain't really dressing up either. It's just...
and John goes to the gym. What he's told me is that every day he goes to the gym to try to look more like you and I, Randall.
Yeah. Good luck.
I'm trying to catch up.
And catching up is a good thing, but what we do on the show is we introduce you to some amazing people who've started charities and done things on their own, and the reason we do this show is to get a chance for you to meet them, to learn about some people in the state of Utah who really do just great things.
Because we've all seen, the national charities advertised everywhere and the TV stations. Turn off that phone over there. Jeez,
who brought that guy in?
Now, here's the funny part. Andy, who is the guy behind the scenes on all these amazing charities, been doing it for 40 years, came in and lectured John about putting his phone down a minute and a half ago. And then...
And if you couldn't hear it on this podcast, we could hear it in the studio as his phone
We want to
was
thank
ringing.
Lee, our audio engineer, who turned down your sets at home.
And as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, he's laughing now. So many national charities get publicity on TV, and local news stations will cover 5K runs and everything on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's usually for something like the Cancer Society or the Ronald McDonald House. Not that there's anything wrong with any of them, but there's so many smaller ones that need publicity that don't get it.
Right.
Yeah. And really, those people have a desire. They see a need. One of the cases, Mark Christensen with Angel's Hands, his son Matt had a rare, incurable disease, started this foundation. 18 years later now, they've raised $3 million in impacted lives. Mascot Miracles, so you're very close. There are a lot of great groups. With that in mind, please introduce us to my boss, Christy.
That's kind of funny to hear. I like that.
Yeah, I will explain this in a second.
So today, Christy Cook is she started a foundation. It's called RUGERS Gifts, and I'm going to let
that. Can you spell that?
RUEGER.
Cook, COOK.
Oh no, I knew that.
You were both wrong.
How do you spell Rugers?
How do you spell RUGER?
RUGER.
Okay, RUGER. So keep going. I didn't mean to
There was
interrupt
another
you.
E. Come on, give me credit. I came close.
Yeah, you were way close.
No, so I'm going to let her explain what her passion was for starting this, because I won't do it any justice. But I just know that talking with her and reading a little bit more about the charity, it's definitely a great charity and needs to be recognized. And I'm going to throw it over to Christy to kind of explain why you started this and what was your reasoning behind it.
Cool. So Ruger is actually my son. One of my sons, my youngest son. He actually passed away 11 years ago.
Oh.
So he was 3.5, a drowning accident. So it's nothing that we were prepared for. But this kid, just a ball of energy. So every time during Christmas, we'd go to Walmart, and he would have to pick off one of those stinking ornaments off the tree for those kids to get home. It got so expensive, and it just was a ritual that we had, and I loved it. So when he passed away, his birthday is actually the middle of November, and we decided the very first year that he was gone, he died in June, and we still did a birthday party. We wanted to celebrate his life, and he touched so many lives, and so we decided what we were going to do is throw him a birthday party. Well, people wanted to donate gifts and stuff like that, and we got thinking about it, and with how much he loved to give to these little kids during Christmas, we thought, well, why not? So we had every year now for the last 11 years for his birthday, we start collecting gifts on his birthday for a full month, and we find families in need. And then we donate his birthday gifts to these families in honor of him.
And this is a perfect example, John and Randall, of a small charity that starts out just for one individual and yet has grown, and you make a positive impact in people's lives.
Yeah, it's really neat. We like to stay anonymous because I don't do it, for the recognition or anything like that. It's all for his legacy.
How do you choose who the gifts go to?
It's hard. So sometimes we have to look for the families. Sometimes they're just brought to us. This year it was hard because we just couldn't find a family. So I had reached out to Sub for Santa, I got a family, but then this morning we were actually given 5 military families that are in need.
Wow.
So I went from having to hunt one down to all of a sudden this morning I've got 6 total.
Wow.
So yeah.
Lord works in mysterious ways, right there.
It really does. So, yeah.
But there's a lot of need, and in Utah, I just read an article yesterday that we are the second most giving state in the country.
Who's
And,
first?
You know, let me rephrase that. I looked at the headline from the article. I did not read
I saw the same headline, and I don't. So I put you on the spot, and you couldn't answer. Okay.
You know, in law, they teach us, and not that I'm a lawyer, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to.
Right.
And any question Randall asks me, that falls into that
I don't
category.
know the answer, so. Yeah.
But I always knew that Utah was pretty amazing in that regard.
Yeah.
So this is a great way for you to remember your son in a super positive light. On a personal level, to lose a son like that, is there anything that you can tell parents about who've gone through that? Anything that can make something that's so horrific any easier?
No. Honestly, I know you get a lot of that, and I've had friends that have had friends that have lost kids and stuff like that, and all you can do is just be there. There's nothing that takes that pain away. I'm not going to lie to anybody or say that it gets easier. It's like losing a limb, like your own arm. I mean, you're going to learn how to adjust because you have to. You got to learn how to live the rest of your life without it, but you're still missing it. It's always going to be a piece that's gone, but I mean, the way I seen it is I could have taken it 2 ways. I could have played a victim, or I could make the best out of a really crummy situation. And that's the route me and my older son had decided to go. It's just, if we can remember his memory and all the good things, that's where it really helps, because we didn't want to get in that dark place or anything like that, but
Which would be easy to do.
yeah,
I can
absolutely.
imagine.
So just, be there for him. And parents, it helped to talk. We found a group, Canary Gardens, that absolutely was just amazing, because they had kids that had lost siblings or kids that had lost parents, and they all went to their own different areas. And then there's me that, had other parents that had lost kids. So you're not alone, and you could actually talk, and they understood, and they knew what you were going through. That really helped. So.
Oh, that breaks my heart. So with the 11 years that you've been doing this now, like what's a really memorable story that you can think of?
Oh, there was actually one that, so it was a coworker of mine. He had just found out that his daughter had ended up getting a terminally ill disease. And I actually, because now I'm so close to the Mascot Miracle Foundation, I had connected them over with them, but it was so close to me. It was hard, because I knew they needed help, but I could see the pain that he's going through, because he hasn't just lost a daughter. He knew he was going to lose his daughter. So that one was, they kind of shut down a little bit, and to be able to give them that comfort, and so he didn't have to worry about it. It just, I don't know, it just felt really good. But just, usually I just stay so anonymous that I just tell me what you need, and that's about as far as I go.
So they don't even know where the gifts come from?
No.
Wow.
No.
You're a real Santa Claus.
That is. Seriously.
Yeah, I guess
You crawl down the chimney and do that. Yeah.
Well, as a former professional football player, and that's where our connection. So I'm
I
lucky
was going
enough.
to ask, how's she your boss?
So Christy is in charge of game day operations for the Utah Falcons, which is one of the finest women's professional teams in the country. They played for the national championship 3 years in a row. They've won 1 national championship. Finished 2. Excuse me.
2, yeah.
And it is
Get
an
your
amazing.
facts straight
Yeah.
here. Jeez.
Well, I'm
In front of your boss? Gosh.
We've played in 4 national championships and 1, 2.
okay, but they play in the spring at Cottonwood High School, and you've been down, Dan Roberts.
Watching you guys was amazing. I mean, seriously, it's
Yeah.
amazing football.
And the coach is amazing. Air Force Academy, ex-FBI guy, is a phenomenal coach.
Rick is hands down the best.
And what happens, when you go out, you've been around football as much as I have, you look at special teams, because a lot of teams, offense, defense, they have their act together. But the Falcons are amazing. Special teams is perfect. It's just a wonderfully 50 or 60 women from all different walks of life
Yeah.
coming together to have a goal of playing women's professional football.
Beat the crap out of the other team.
And,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah, I
happens
can
a
see
lot.
that look on your eyes. Yeah, that's what we were doing.
So Christy has to keep a loose rope on me so I don't get in too much trouble.
So
But
you're the announcer?
yeah, so the PA announcer, which is so much fun. I come from a sportscasting background where you're doing a game either on radio or TV.
Right.
PA is fun because they let me do whatever I want.
Well,
No other organization would.
that
And
could be
Very
entertaining.
trustworthy is what you're saying.
Right? It's scary though. You always wonder what's about to come out of his mouth.
Yes, indeed. But I have a wonderful time. So getting back to the foundation, how did you decide that this was a great way to honor your son? What was the genesis for the idea?
It literally, having the birthday party, it was brought up, about gifts, and it just came to us. It just popped in our head. Hey, why not do this? Because we knew the holidays were going to be hard, especially your first ones when you're going into it and you're trying to figure out how am I going to do this? But how do I still stay positive for my other son that's over here? And, because it's tough. I remember my first Christmas and I cried in my bedroom. And then you hear him knock on the door and you put on that face like, all right, I got this. And you walk out the door and do what you got to do.
How old is your other son?
Now he's 20. So he's
Okay.
5 years older than Ruger when all this happened. But he kind of put me in check that first Christmas. But doing all of this, though, it helped us get through the holidays. Because you're so focused on this legacy of, your brother and your son that it flies by and it's just really neat. So, yeah.
What advice would you give other people at home who have an idea for something they want to do to give back and might say that it's just too big, it's too scary, it's too
You got to work
daunting?
too hard. Too many details.
Yeah, I can see that because I thought it was going to be the same way. I was trying to figure out, what am I getting myself into? Is this really going to be how time consuming? But it really wasn't. When we started to figure out this is what we wanted to do and I put it out there, it was so overwhelming, the love and support that we received, that it's been so easy just because of everybody out there. They want to help. People want to help. And what makes it so easy for, people like me and stuff like that is I know that we're helping a lot of these families, and some of these families, it's hard to ask for help. I know for me, your pride gets in the way and stuff like that, but what they don't realize is you're actually helping me and people like me. It's doing more for me than it probably is for you guys because they're materialistic things. But to me, you're healing my heart and you're helping me. So yeah, but for other people that want to do this, it's really not that hard. And so many loved ones and your friends and family, they want to help. They probably don't know how either. So if one person puts it out there, you're going to have a plethora of people going, hey, let's do this.
The thing that I love hearing with what you're saying as well is, and I know we've talked about this, and you were talking about the bigger charities, and there's a lot of charities where you donate, but not as much goes to the
You
actual
give a
child.
buck
Yep.
and 20 cents
Yep.
goes to the actual.
And
yeah.
what you've started is something that is 100% going to this family.
100%.
You have
Well, she takes her salary of $100,000.
yeah,
first, right?
takes it right off the top.
No.
But you have this foundation and what you guys do, healing and helping you and your son.
Mm-hmm.
You have the family that is the recipients, being able to, like you said, not stress about giving Christmas to their kids.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the little grassroots charities is it's so it's simple in a very good way, but it gives back so much compared to, and people can
No
see
administrative
Yeah.
overhead
Exactly.
and office staff
love that,
and all
yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was lucky enough to be a very early volunteer for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Andy was on the board, and we ran the initial, this is back in the late 80s, out of my buddy's law office for free, and Make-A-Wish has gone on to do some amazing things and just wonderful, and there are tons of kids' charities. But the immediacy of being involved in a small group and seeing X amount of input and work benefits so dramatically.
Yeah, it really does.
Pretty darn cool. What's the hardest thing about starting your own charity?
Oh, geez. Wondering where to start, really. So that's like the biggest
Just like
thing
your
is-
question there.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
what do you do? Like, what do we need to do, and how is this even going to work? But there really hasn't. The hardest thing is actually finding the families at this point. So I mean, really, it's not that hard. I know it sounds scary and it sounds hard, but it's not.
So a good idea is all you need.
Yep, that's it. That's all it starts with. And then you have to have that drive to actually do it.
And we're going to have information on our website, Working for Charities, and we'll have people you can talk to, all of 100% volunteer, but people who can give you direction.
Yep.
Because once you get into this, as Christy is so beautifully put, you find out that everyone is there to help you.
Yeah.
You're
not alone.
You don't get a lot of no's when you're asking for help.
That's true. You don't.
I'm curious how you say it's totally anonymous. How does it physically work that you find a family, then you get the gifts to the family, and they don't know where it came from?
So most of the time, when we first started, it was usually within the church and stuff like that. So if you had like the Relief Society or something reaching out to me, and I let them know I don't want anybody to know, so they would find out from the family what they needed. And when we got everything, I took it to her, and then she took it off and whatnot. So then when it comes to the military families that we've got going on, I've got somebody that actually works up at Hill. And so she gets a hold of these families, she finds out, and then when I get everything, I get it to her, and she gives it to who she needs to get it to the families.
And if I'm a recipient and I say, where did all this come from? What's the answer?
That I want to stay anonymous.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Can you imagine if you were a recipient family and they say, we don't know, but somebody magical appeared out.
That's truly a case of paying it forward.
Yeah, really.
This is like true charity. You know what I mean? Where there's no recognition being given back and there's no salary. It's awesome.
And at the risk of tooting our own horn, and thanks to you, John, and Andy, and Randall, and Lee, and we've gotten a chance to meet some people who've started their own charities and see how that has so affected not only people in the community, but themselves. You just feel better about yourself.
Sure.
And there's an old expression, if you want to feel good, do some good. Mm-hmm. And this is an example. Though I hate to put on my serious cap, there are things that you have to do if you're accepting funds and that sort of thing. And go on our website and we'll have information for you. But when it comes to just accepting gifts and help, that's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you ever run into someone that you've benefited and gotten a chance to talk to them and they don't know who you are or that you were responsible, or is it all?
I don't even know their last names.
Really?
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Boy, you want to talk true charity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like...
Yeah, the type of charity where you write a name on a check and then get the building named after you might not be as charitable.
No.
Is that sort of?
So you never even, because one of the paybacks for me, and maybe I'm being selfish, would be seeing the happiness that you've helped create, but you don't even get to see that.
No, because though. It's Christmas. Those kids, they're just little, So, there's only one family I know about, and it's because I worked with them. But that's it. So, And with it being Christmas, that you've done good. It's just because those parents, some of them do have the hard time asking. And so that's where I don't want them to know that it's me, because I don't want them to feel like they owe me anything or anything like that. But, those kids and the parents now, can say that it was from them or from Santa, and there's no questions because these presents just showed up. So.
And she's reinstilled my faith in Santa Claus. It's like, here she is. I found Santa Claus. Yeah.
And I know that you were saying that it's hard sometimes to find families, but with Working for Charities, that's another thing is reach out to us, because we do work with a lot of the families that you're talking about, the type of families. So
I love that. That'll help a ton.
So
yeah,
we can help you out there.
And if in fact you're in a situation where you need some extra resources, how do you find the funding? How do you pay for all these wonderful presents?
So usually with his birthday, I start a fundraiser on Facebook is where it's all started, and that's where you donate. So I'll put all the information for what I've got, so they can either donate, the actual gifts that are needing or wanting, or they can actually donate on the fundraiser, and whatever gifts are still needed, I'll go out and buy the gifts. Whatever's left over, I'll get a gift card for the parents so they can actually continue to do whatever they need to do or get themselves, something. And
it's crazy.
Ultimately good. How, and if someone watching the show or listening to the show wants to help out, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably Facebook is the biggest thing. So
and the
So the fundraiser is called RUGERS Gifts for Families in Need. is what it's called.
And it's RUGER, as opposed to
RUEGER.
He was thinking German or something. I don't know.
Luger.
Yeah.
So this time of year, there are a lot of people really helping out. And I'm one of those people, for some strange reason, I'm not a Christmas person. But when you see...
Bah, humbug.
I know.
Grinch.
But in this situation, you get to see something that, come November, a rough period for you, your son's birthday. But for the next month, you get to see all this good. That has got to make you...
It is amazing. Yeah, and it literally makes it just fly by. So come the middle of December, when we're all done and everything's, said and done, now I have to hurry and worry about my family. So then I'm busy clear up until Christmas. And then we're crazy. Like, we don't have enough going on anyways. Me and Coy had decided that on Christmas Day, because it's still hard, because, your brother should be sitting there. Your other son should be sitting there. And so we actually... We're insane. So we started putting together homeless bags, gloves and granola bars and toothbrushes and all this stuff. And so we open our presents, we have our breakfast, and then we head down to the streets and hand out these homeless bags and hand out hot chocolate and coffee and chicken noodle soup.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
What?
So, if anybody wants to join us Christmas Day, 11 o'clock, I'll be down there.
It's a party at Christie's down on the block.
So, what's the reception from some of the homeless? They must be amazed at your charity.
Oh, they love it, but, they don't know about the charity.
But the fact that you're down there.
But that we're down there. But we're not the only ones down there is what makes that so neat. So many cars, pull up and they're handing out blankets or there's donuts or it's not just us.
They have Santas down there frequently for the kids. And yeah.
It's cool.
We've got such a pronounced homeless problem here in the state of Utah, but you exacerbate the situation when it gets cold.
Yeah.
And you're down there, and it's a life or death situation. And hopefully, through a lot of hard work, the homeless situation. We've got a new shelter just up the street in South Salt Lake. We've got some new shelters, and hopefully,
we've got two more new ones. One on 7th South, and one on Paramount Avenue. So there's one just for women, and then the one on Paramount Avenue is men and women, and then the men's shelter is out in South Salt Lake. Only they call them resource centers now.
They do.
Yes, because they actually do, and this is in defense of what they do, because it's sort of my beat in the news, and I still associate with them a lot. And because they're smaller in size than the road home was down on Rio Grande, they have more case managers, and they have people on site so that each person can relate one-on-one with the case manager and talk about stuff like jobs and housing and things like that. And they don't have to leave the place in the daytime like they did at the road home.
What was the purpose of leaving during the daytime?
To Lysol the place. Quite honestly, because it was so filthy after one night of 1,400 people there who were many of them using drugs and drunk and stuff like that, that you had to clean the place up. So it was a sad situation down there.
Yeah, and in Utah, a lot of people have gotten involved. Mrs. Miller,
sure,
probably foremost among former Speaker of the House. People really have gotten together and made an effort to do that.
One of the resource centers is called the Gail Miller Resource Center.
She is a hero in this town.
Oh, she's huge. Yeah, anything, and she obviously has tons of money, and what she wants to do, she can get done.
Yeah, and that would be a nice situation. Now, talking about some of the charities that Working for Charities has gotten to know, are there special stories when you've met someone who's had an idea and you've had a chance to help them nurture their dream? Any thoughts that come to mind?
There's been a few charities that have approached me and asked for a little help on a direction. And one that does stick out, because I still think, she ended up going off and getting a job and a modeling job, and which was bigger and grander and kind of took her away from Salt Lake. But she was talking about how she wanted to show younger girls, that what they see on social media when it comes to a model or these bloggers and stuff is not the reality.
Right.
That what they're seeing is just a snippet of time, and it's, when you look at them, they're not, all these models aren't perfect.
Right.
That if you take their makeup off, they're just like you and I.
And a lot of photoshopping on
And a lot of photoshopping. And that's what's hard is these kids nowadays on social media, they see these families or these guys or these girls, and they just think that, oh, they have such a great life. Or they're so perfect. When it's absolutely the opposite. And, she was talking to me about this. She showed me a picture.
Who is this? Who is this individual?
Alexis.
Okay.
And she showed me a picture of this family, and it was a Ken and Barbie family, and it was this couple and their kids, and she's like, what do you think of this? And I said, well, they look really happy. And she goes, I was there when they did this photo, and it was pretty much, they were all separate. Kids are with the nanny. They kind of were like, it's time. They got together, did the photo, and then they were gone again. And it wasn't like that cohesive looking family like the picture represented. So I really was like that. That's actually a great idea, is to bring the modeling community together and basically talk to these young women or young girls that are out there and let them know that, you know what, you're okay with who you are.
Right.
And
because there's so much body shaming because people
way too much
see these perfect bodies that aren't perfect, but they look perfect.
And we're in a situation where media gives such a negative, basically, representation of what life is really like. And Randall and I joke on our previous show about beer commercials, because it's never someone hungover on Monday morning. It's always people at the top of their game Friday night.
Hot women, hot men, hot cars, hot boats, hot vacation spots, everybody drinking beer and having a great time.
Shockingly enough, there are things that result from drinking beer on Friday night that are not always great. And so when you get a chance to talk to people about charities, what is the majority? Is there an excitement at getting it, trepidation? Is there any one common theme?
I think the main or the most common thing that I hear is everybody wants to, but they just don't know how to get involved. Is really the main answer that I get. But the other one is that, like you said, is it seems like it could be a lot of work, and I think that is also a deterrent for people. Is they don't understand, like you said, you said, actually, I take that back, that you thought it was going to be a lot of work, but then when you really started doing it, it wasn't as much work as you thought. Because I think a lot of times people think it's going to be work until they do it, and then once they realize the joy that they're getting out of it, and they see what they're doing by giving back, all that work doesn't turn into work. It's love.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
And as Randall said, when he left Channel 4 to go work at Odyssey House, he's never worked a day of his life because he loves it.
Yeah.
Right.
When you love what you're doing, it's not work.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So you've made a heck of a difference, and we're going to be doing hopefully 5 or 6 games this spring.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
The Utah Falcons play at Cottonwood High School, and if you want a fun afternoon, typically the games are on Saturday afternoons. It's a lot of fun. We'll get this big lug over in the booth again.
Yeah.
And have a lot of fun. And your story is amazing. And so once again, give out the Facebook address if people want to. Facebook name.
So it's Ruger's Gifts for Families in Need.
Okay.
Ruger's Gifts. Gifts.
With
an S.
For families in need. All one word.
Yep.
Nope, it's not one word. It's
Nope.
a whole bunch of
Well, I don't know.
I'm just agreeing. I'm like, yep.
It sure
Nope.
is. Yes.
Nope, it's not. Come on,
So
Randall.
it's not like a domain name.
No, it's not a domain.
Do you have a website?
I don't.
So you just have Facebook.
Yep. That's
Does
it.
Mark Zuckerberg ever write you a check at all?
No, dang him.
Okay, we're going to talk to him.
Mark, are you out there watching this?
So give out the address for Working for Charities.
Well, I'm glad that you asked me that because can you give me a minute till I get my phone so I can look it up? What are you talking about?
Andy, workingforcharities.org.
Oh, that address. I thought you meant the mailing address. I was just like, come on.
Workingforcharities.com.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I
was just like, man, we just opened up the P.O. box. I don't know the
Christy,
address.
you know what's funny is on the show we admitted that maybe I've had a few head injuries from hockey, but John has had more than a few. So when he doesn't come up with it,
You look at all the antics the Bear did during all those games, and we can forgive you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, what's your excuse, mister? I just, that question seriously just made me sweat a little bit. I was just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
We just opened up the P.O. box, so I don't know.
workingforcharities.com. If you have an idea for a charity, go and reach out to these guys because Andy and John are amazing and they can help you get into a dream, that something that can make an amazing difference in your lives. And Christy, I didn't know this side of you, and
No, you didn't. Yeah.
I am so impressed. And you've taken a situation that is the worst thing that can happen to a parent and made a positive out of it, and that's all you can ask.
Yeah, that's it.
That is amazing.
Randall,
God bless
as usual, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
It's been a pleasure. Really nice to meet you and hear about you.
Nice to meet you
Good to
too.
see
Thank
you.
you
Mr.
for
Bear,
having
Nice
me,
to
guys.
see you again.
This was a lot of fun. I want to thank Lee, who's cutting it all up. Bill at Comcast is going to start doing this show.
Really? Good.
And then the folks over at Kurt over at Channel 4, we're going to start televising this show.
Really?
I want to thank Andy, everyone involved. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.